Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraja Acharya Ashtatara Shata Shri Srimad Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Om Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Primseka Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. A reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, Text 43. Tata Kala Agni Rudra Atma Yat Shishtam Idam Atmanaha Sam Niyachati Tatkale Kana Anikam Eva Anilaha Tata Kalagni Rudratma Yat Shrishtam Idam Atmanaha Saniyachati Tatkale Gananikam Ivanilaha Tata Kalagni Rudratma Yat Shrishtam Idam Atmanaha Saniyachati Tatkale Kananikam Ivanilaha Tata Kalagni Rudratma Yat Sishtim Idam Atmanaha Saniyachati Tatkale Gananikam Ivanilaha
Takalagni Rudratma
Tatkalagni Rudratma
Yashishtam Idam Atmanaha
Yatshishtam Idam Atmanaha
Sanyachati Tatkale
Saniyachati Tatkale
Gananikam Ivanilaha
Tatakalagni Rudratma Yatsishtamidam Atmanaha Saniyachati Tatkale Kananikam Ivaninaha
Tatakalagni Rudratma Yatshishtam Idamatmanaha Sniyachati Tatkale Ganadi Ivanulaha
Tatakalagni Rudratma Yatshishtam Idamatmanaha Saniyachati Tatkale Ghananikam Ivanilaha.
Sorry. Tatakalagni Rudratma Yatshishtam Idamatmanaha Sniyachati Tatkale Kananikam Ivanilaha
Takalagni Rudramatma Yachistram Idam Atmanaha Sanyachitat Tatkale Ganikam Ivanalaha
Tatakalagni Rudratma Yatshishtamidam Atmanaha Saniyachati Tatkale Gananikam Ivanilaha
Tataha, thereafter, at the end. Kala, destruction. Agni, fire. Rudra Atma, in the form of Rudra. Yat, whatever. Shrishtam, created. Idam, all these. Atmanaha, of his own. Some, completely. Niyachati, annihilates. Tatkale, at the end of the millennium. Gana anikam, bunches of clouds. Eva, like that of. Anilaha, air. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Thereafter, at the end of the millennium, the Lord Himself, in the form of Rudra, the destroyer, will annihilate the complete creation as the wind displaces the clouds. Purport. This creation is very appropriately compared to clouds. Clouds are created or situated in the sky, and when they are displaced, they remain in the same sky without manifestation. Similarly, the whole creation is made by the Supreme Personality of God in His form of Brahma. It is maintained by Him in the form of Vishnu, and it is destroyed by Him in the form of Rudra or Shiva, all in due course. This creation, maintenance, and destruction are nicely explained in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text 19 to 20 as follows. Bhuta grama sa evayam bhutva bhutva praliyate ratragame vashaparta prabhavatyahar agame, prastasmat tu bhavonyo, vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha, yasas sarveshu bhuteshu, nashyatsu na vinashyati. The nature of the material world is that it is first created very nicely, then it develops very nicely, and stays for a great number of years, even beyond the calculation of the greatest mathematician. But after that it is again destroyed during the night of Brahma, without any resistance, and at the end of the night of Brahma it is again manifested as a creation to follow the same principles of maintenance and destruction. The foolish conditioned soul who has taken this temporary world as a permanent settlement has to learn intelligently why such creation and destruction take place. The fruitive actors in the material world are very enthusiastic in the creation of big enterprises, big houses, big empires, big industries, and so many... Oh, sorry. I added an extra big. The fruitive actors in the material world are very enthusiastic in the creation of big enterprises, big houses, big empires, big industries, and so many big things out of the energy and ingredients supplied by the material agent of the Supreme Lord. With such resources, and at the cost of valuable energy, the conditioned soul creates, satisfies his whims, but unwillingly has to depart from all his creations and enter into another phase of life to create again and again. To give hope to such foolish conditioned souls who waste their energy in this temporary material world, the Lord gives information that there is another nature which is eternally existent without being occasionally created or destroyed, and that the conditioned soul can understand what he should do and how his valuable energy may be utilized. Instead of wasting his energy in matter, which is sure to be destroyed in due course by the Supreme Will, the conditioned soul should utilize his energy in the devotional service of the Lord, so that he can be transferred to the other eternal nature, where there is no birth, no death, no creation, no destruction, but permanent life instead, full of knowledge and unlimited bliss. The temporary creation is exhibited and destroyed just to give information to the conditioned soul who is attached to temporary things. It is also meant to give him a chance for self-realization and not for sense gratification, which is the prime aim of all fruitive actors. Maharaj, would you like to speak on this verse?
Yeah. One needs to understand what is the purpose of everything. What is the purpose of the universe? What is the purpose of my existence? What is the purpose of nature? Why does nature exist? They don't ask these questions. And if you ask someone who's studying for many years in a particular field, what is the purpose of this? For example, let's say someone's studying the universe, planets, astronomy. You ask, what is the purpose of all this? No purpose. You can't see any purpose. They miss the whole point. In other words, the whole point of anything is to understand what one is doing and why he's doing it. Otherwise, how can we take pleasure or take pride in doing something and we don't know what the purpose of it is? Someone may be going around and he's collecting money for a big project. I want to build a big something. So if someone says, what's the purpose of this building? I don't know, we're just collecting the money and building it. So will any intelligent man give to such a project? Well, he's just collecting, he doesn't know what it's for. He doesn't know why. Why are you doing this? So this is how society becomes so senseless. And it behooves every sensible person to not continue, to be swept along. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings that the souls are simply being taken by the waves of material existence. Sometimes they're dashed down, smashed into the ground, sometimes up high. He shouldn't do this. He shouldn't continue being thrown around like this. He should understand things properly. And if the school system that we have does not provide this information, then he should find it elsewhere. If it's not available in the ordinary system of libraries and education, then he has to find out where it is. Therefore you see sometimes a person goes off to India, young man goes off on some kind of feeling that he has to search out himself, find himself. He couldn't find himself in the West. You see it happening a lot. Young people, even old people are finding that they miss the point. There's no conclusion of what the purpose of life is. So then they try to go to India and they seek out a teacher. This is good. Many of the devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement were already reading and inquiring about things from the East, trying to find out this knowledge that they weren't getting anywhere else. Sometimes the religious leaders of the West would ask Prabhupada, why so many people, so many of these young Westerners are taking to you, to your group? It's because we're giving them real knowledge that they couldn't get anywhere else. That's why. They left because they're not getting answers. They're not getting fulfillment. Nothing makes any sense. If you examine the current direction, the current activities and trajectory of present-day society, it doesn't make any sense. We're going right back to a lower way of life. We've seen this in the future, in the past. Past repeats itself. History repeats itself. We see it whenever a culture becomes absorbed in very sensuous, very selfish, very low-level thinking, not high, not about things godly and good, but low and wicked. Whenever a society goes in that direction, it means the future is going to be very bad. There's going to be destruction. That society will not be able to remain in a leadership position because they've lost the qualification. Just like when a man is elected or a woman is elected to some post, big post like a governor or some president or king or something. If he doesn't behave well in that, if he does so many abominable things that are against nature and against God and against humanity and against all living entities and decency, then he's removed. He's impeached. But the problem is, they may impeach someone because he's acting so horribly, but then they replace him with another of the same type. It's because they're not training any persons of high character. Where is it? Where is that training? If it's there, please show me. I'd like to know where that training is going on. Before, you could say that if a person is born in a good family, gets good training, good education, in culture and morality, and he's taught all the right things, the right values, and there's good examples. He's being led by persons who are pure and free from impurities of so many things. He's impure like that. He lives a clean life. He's doing selflessly service for society and the world, God. When there was a system like that, like for example, in here, in America and Europe, it had such a system, at least compared to now. Then you could say there's some hope. And the person who would come out of such education, for example, such education was considered so important that the major universities like Harvard and Yale in this country, or Oxford and Cambridge in England, they were set up for all men studying. No mixing, men and women during this period of education. Why? Because everyone knows why. They become completely bewildered and lost in animal activities, like our colleges are, fraternities, sororities. It's a joke. And now we've even become so careless that we don't even care about the systems of the past, even the marriage system, even the religious systems, thrown away. Does it matter what God says, what's right and what's wrong? No. Doesn't matter what the religion is, I don't care. How can they be so foolish to not care what God says is right? And they say, well, I don't believe in God. Your belief in God doesn't make or break him. He's still there. Or at least you have to admit he might be there. There might be God. What if there is God? You may say, okay, if there's no God, it doesn't matter what I do. All right, fair enough. I agree with that. If there's no God, then do what you want. But what if there is God? What gives you the evidence to think that there may not be a God? Well, so many bad things are happening. So many bad things are happening. That's proof that there is God. That when you don't behave properly, then bad things will happen. And if you behave properly, then everything is nice. And that's what's described in all the scriptures. That if you live a good life in this lifetime, worshiping God, serving Him, helping others to understand the purpose of life, God is pleased with you. And you can go and live in heaven with God and His associates, the good group. And not that you just disregard the others who are going in the wrong direction, you try to help them, try to save them. It all makes perfect sense, godly sense. But this idea of just exploiting one another for temporary sense gratification on a low level, like the animals, or lower than the animals, is not the direction to go for a thoughtful person. How can anyone who has supposedly studied and tried to understand what life, how can he go along with such a direction? There are many who protest, but they don't know the answer. They don't know the solution to the problems. Pointing out the problems is not so difficult. You look anywhere, there's problems. But finding out the solution, that is difficult. And that can only be done, as we were hearing last night, how to get out of this terrible situation, then one has to go to the saintly persons. They know what. They know how to solve the problem. Dharmasya tattvam guhayam. Dharmam. In the heart of the pure devotee, there's Dharma. You can know what's to be done, not even from the scriptures. Scriptures are absolutely essential, but they won't be understood by the common man. They must be explained and understood and presented, actualized by the pure devotees. Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gata sapanta. And then we follow the path of those great Mahatmas, those great souls. Then all the problems are resolved. Everything. Any problem you can come up with. Pestilence. Let's say there's drought. Problem of drought. All over the world now there's more deserts. Deserts are growing. Why is it becoming so that there's more droughts? The rivers are drying up because of sinful activities. We're not performing the activities that God wants us to perform. We simply look in Bhagavad Gita, and it's explained there that one should get grains. And in order to get food grains, one has to perform pious activities, sacrifice. And sacrifice is developed by following the Vedic scriptures and performing one's duty. It's all explained systematically. Then rains will come, the clouds will come, just like here. It says clouds. Clouds will come and they will rain. Even a place that's struggling for many, many years with droughts can all be turned around by sacrifice. This sounds mysterious and hard to believe, but it's true. There are many examples that society was plagued by all kinds of difficulties, but when they follow the principles of God consciousness, everything is changed and goes for the better. So these are some thoughts.
Thank you, Maharaj. Omagyanna Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vagishaya Shivadane Lakshmi Shachvakshasi Yashaste Hare Sumritam Simham Hambhaje Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yad Kripatamaham Vande Tad Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. I think I messed that first. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada was saying that, I highlighted it here. The foolish conditioned soul who has taken this temporary world as a permanent settlement has to learn intelligently why such creation and destruction take place. So when the soul's natural place is in the spiritual world, being enjoyed by Krishna, but when the spirit souls, the persons, want to become the enjoyers of matter, then they become conditioned in this material world. So Krishna comes in his most merciful manifestation of Lord Chaitanya, just to give loving devotional service to himself through the process of Sankirtan. So, Sankirtan means the congregational chanting of the holy name, San and Kirtan, chanting Hare Krishna. And then it also means book distribution, because Srila Prabhupada explained how these books, they're written kirtans. So that's another form of congregational chanting, because the books themselves are kirtan. They're the glories of the Lord. And they're also explaining why you should chant and what the holy name is. And Srila Prabhupada explained that his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, called the books or the printing press the Brihat Mridanga. So when we go out on the street to engage in this Yuga Dharma, Sankirtan, we have the Mridanga, the drum, and it's heard for a block or two. People are getting purified by hearing the holy name. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur called the printing press the Brihat Mridanga, the big drum, because with that you can print these kirtans in the form of these books, and that transcendental sound vibration can be distributed throughout the whole world. You give it to one person, and they take it, and next thing you know, their son who's fighting in Russia or wherever, who's in the military somewhere. There's many stories we can hear. They go to another part of the world, and people become devotees there. So Lord Chaitanya, he's giving this process of Sankirtan, and he exhibits the manifestation, when he's here, he exhibits the manifestation of the highest type of relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, called Madhura Rasa, which is that conjugal, transcendental conjugal sweetness in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's very esoteric. But one very esoteric fact that is described in the Jaiva Dharma by Bhaktivinoda Thakur is that this Madhura Rasa is displayed or manifested in two ways. One is that Madhurya, transcendental conjugal sweetness, but then there's something even higher than this highest mellow or relationship with the Supreme Lord. And that is manifested in Lord Chaitanya, called Adarya Rasa, which means transcendental magnanimity. So Lord Chaitanya, he is the most magnanimous. Namo Mahavadanyaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate, Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya, Namane Gora Tushe Namaha. So he is Mahavadanyaya, the most munificent and charitably disposed. And why? Because he is Krishna Prema Pradayate. He is the one who can give love of Krishna. And you can hear Srila Prabhupada's many addresses when he first comes to temples. He gives an arrival address. They're usually about 20 to 30 minutes, but there's one that's only 2 minutes long. And he starts describing how Lord Chaitanya is the most munificent, and then he becomes choked up, and he's like he's crying, and he just says, he explains how Lord Chaitanya is so kind, so take shelter of Lord Chaitanya. That Krishna says, first you surrender unto me, but Lord Chaitanya, he's just freely giving love of God, so take shelter of Lord Chaitanya, and then the arrival address ends in just 2 minutes. So Srila Prabhupada is Lord Chaitanya's Senapati Bhakta. Lord Chaitanya says in the Chaitanya Mangal, I didn't write down here, maybe I have it on here. I'll just read the exact verse. It's really amazing. Lord Chaitanya predicts Srila Prabhupada coming, and he talks about him in this Chaitanya Mangal. Here it is. Ebe nama sankirtana tikshna kadaya laya antara asura jivera palibe katiya. Taking the sharp sword of the congregational, or the word in the what I just said, taking the sharp sword of Sankirtan, taking the sharp sword of congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, Sankirtan, I will root out and destroy the demoniac mentality in the hearts of all conditioned souls. That's Lord Chaitanya speaking. Yadi papi chadi dharma dure deshayaya morasanapati bhakta yebe tataya. If some sinful people escape and giving up religious principles go to far off countries, then my Senapati Bhakta, military commander, will come at that time to give them Krishna consciousness. So that's Srila Prabhupada. He's Lord Chaitanya's military commander. So he's not only an eternally liberated soul, Shakti Avesh avatar, coming from the spiritual world on a mission, but there's even further description we see by Lord Chaitanya. He's his military commander coming to deliver the fallen souls in far off countries. Who else did that? And you know, some very low class people who don't understand devotional service will say that Srila Prabhupada, he's a great person, no doubt. He did so many good things, but after all, he is an ordinary person, just like me and you. He can make mistakes. So I follow his spiritual instructions, but not his material instructions. So we don't want to talk about such people very much, but it's we see how bogus such ideas are, to say that there's material and spiritual instructions of the spiritual master. These people, they don't actually understand what is the position of the spiritual master. We say when we're paying obeisances, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishdaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. He is in the same category of Lord Vishnu. So the spiritual master is the perfect. It's described throughout when we're learning what is a spiritual master. It's described in all of the Shastras. He's the transparent via medium of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the perfect representative of the Lord. So what he's doing and saying is perfect. And in that way, he guides the living entities conditioned in this material world out of this material entanglement. Like it's explained at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, if Arjuna just took his spiritual master, Krishna, to be an ordinary person, then there's no use in the rest of the Bhagavad Gita. A conditioned soul can't get another conditioned soul out of conditioned life. They need someone who's freed, someone who's disentangled to get them out. So we see that's the position of the bona fide spiritual master and of Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada is in such a special position that he's predicted in the scriptures as Lord Chaitanya's Senapati Bhakta. So such people who say such foolish things are certainly fools. And we can just see also by their own life. We don't even need to get so philosophical about it. But what do? They're wearing shorts. They don't wear dhotis and saris like we've heard in some of the recent previous chapters, the dress of the spiritual world. But they want to wear shorts and drink beers with friends, or at best sodas. And they're doing really good in spiritual life if they can show up to a Sunday feast. So we don't want to be in that position or hear from such persons or associate with them. But I thought I'd get that part out of the way. So Srila Prabhupada, he's the perfect representative of Krishna. And this class that we're speaking about, we're speaking about perfect persons right now, so we won't talk about those other guys who say foolish things. But Srila Prabhupada, he's also predicted in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So not only by Lord Chaitanya, but in the Bhagavatam itself, which is one of the 5 most important of the Vedas. It's the most important of all the Vedas, but also it's explained in that book, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, from Sanatana Goswami, that there's 5 of the Vedas that are the most important, and Srimad Bhagavatam is listed in there as one of the 5. Also the Garga Samhita is listed in there as one of those 5. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada is predicted in an amazing verse that explains that the Bhagavatam is meant to create a revolution in the hearts of in the impious hearts of the world's misdirected civilization. The preaching of the Bhagavatam will create a revolution in the hearts of a world's misdirected civilization. So who else did that? And who else could be so audacious to claim that they did that or that someone else did that? But we see Srila Prabhupada did that. By preaching the Bhagavatam, he gave his whole life for creating the Bhagavatam. Even with his last breath, he was dictating the purports to the Bhagavatam. And by preaching the Bhagavatam and distributing Srimad Bhagavatam, he made a revolution within the whole misdirected world where no one was knowing about Krishna, no one was eating prasadam, no one was chanting Hare Krishna, maybe a few people in India, but even of that, there were very few who were really following it. And he created a revolution within the whole world through the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Vyasadeva himself predicts that in the verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's very incredible. And there's many other verses that also predict Srila Prabhupada coming and changing the whole world. They're really amazing, but we don't have time to go through all of them. Maybe another time. So there's no one else who could have done it. So how rare is a personality like Srila Prabhupada? And then his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in the pranam mantra that we say to him, it's explained that he is Sri Varsha Banavi Devi Dayata, a personality in the spiritual world who's very dear to Krishna and is serving the gopis in the spiritual world. So this is another extremely rare personality from the spiritual world who's coming here in our Sampradaya for the sake of saving the conditioned souls. So I wanted to make that point, that these two most rarest, unbelievable personalities that you could ever think of were here on the planet at the same time. And so many people want to say, I want to hear something very esoteric. People want to hear about the gopis and Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan and many esoteric things. But we see actually, this is the most esoteric thing. The two most esoteric spiritual personalities are coming here at the same time on this planet, and they have a meeting in the most esoteric, spiritually highest place of all places, Radha Kund, in Vrindavan. There's nothing more special than this place. They both meet there, and what do they speak about? They speak about book distribution. So it's the topmost thing that we can do is to distribute these books of Srila Prabhupada. They had a conversation there that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was saying, in our temple, there's all this, we have this nice Bagh Bazaar temple made of marble, but I'd prefer to sell all the marble and just print some books. And so he told Srila Prabhupada this very special instruction at that meeting, that if you ever get money, print books. And Srila Prabhupada took up that instruction and created a revolution in the entire world. So this is it. In the purport, it was Srila Prabhupada was explaining that the temporary creation is established, because this is what we're speaking on. We're speaking on why Srila Prabhupada said the foolish conditioned soul should intelligently learn why such creation and destruction take place. So later in the purport, he said, the temporary creation is established and destroyed just to give information to the conditioned soul. So this is the point I wanted to make today, is why is this creation made and destroyed? The whole purpose of the creation and destruction of this world is book distribution. Because it's made just to give information to the conditioned souls how they can get out of this entanglement, how they can remember their supreme friend, how they can come back to their eternal position as enjoyed by Krishna, a servant of Krishna, instead of pretending to be the enjoyer. And so that's the information that is given in these books of Srila Prabhupada. So there's nothing better to do. There's no better use, as you sing, we should know what's the best use of our valuable energy. So there's no better use of the living entity's valuable energy than in the ecstatic Sankirtan mission of Srila Prabhupada's book distribution. So there's no activity in all existence that gives the living entities access to the highest platform of transcendental magnanimity in service to Krishna. That, okay, I'm a living entity, part and parcel of the Supreme, so it's my duty to serve the Supreme. And then beyond that, it's my duty to engage all others in the service of the Supreme. So that's what we're being given the chance to do. We can become a weapon of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan army. There's a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that explains that Lord Chaitanya appeared with his weapons. And it's explained in there that his weapons, in this day and age, he's not going with swords and clubs and these things, because the living entities in Kali Yuga are so sinful that they're already dead. So to try to kill them again is, we saw yesterday, we're at Walmart, everyone's walking around already dead. They're so depressed, they're saying, I've got no money, all these bills, I'm so distressed, my wife hates me, my husband hates, it's like everything is horrible. They're dead already. So what are his weapons that he brings? Those are his associates. So we can become a weapon of Lord Chaitanya, a servant of Lord Chaitanya, by giving people the highest thing. With this weapon of knowledge, they can actually become disentangled from the sufferings of this material world. And this is the Yuga Dharma of Kali Yuga, Sankirtan. So there's nothing better to do. This human form of life is very rare. Lord Chaitanya is very rare. Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur are very rare, and a bona fide spiritual master is very rare. So as quickly as possible, we should assist the spiritual master in his business. And Srila Prabhupada writes that the transcendental power of authority is given from the spiritual master to his disciple, to his disciple, to his disciple, to his disciple. So what does that mean? Just like a father, if he has a business, he wants to pass on the business to his good sons. So similarly, book distribution is the business of the guru, and he's very eager to pass it on to his sons. And he wants to open many franchises all over the world to expand this business more and more. We see in the Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 2, verse 37, Srila Prabhupada writes about Kriyasu. Does anyone who's stayed in the ashram in the attic know what the word Kriyasu means? It's on the poster in there. Yeah, that's really good. Jagannath said Kriya means action. So Kriyasu means manual labor. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that all the activities of the Krishna consciousness movement they revolve around what? They're centered on what? Exactly, book distribution. So it's there in the it's eternally there in the Bhaktivedanta purports of the Srimad Bhagavatam. No matter how much some people may want to erase it or forget about it or say things like close down the BBT or that book distribution, it's not so nice, so people might get disturbed and therefore it shouldn't be done anymore, and instead we should have a yoga class or whatever it is. But it's eternally there in the Bhaktivedanta purports of the Srimad Bhagavatam that all of our activities in the Krishna consciousness movement are centered on book distribution. So that means all of our activities should be centered on that, even when we sleep. So the business of the spiritual master is in producing books or distributing books. So we should Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Kriya Aikya, that we should take this up with our heart and soul. Kariho Mane Ash. All of our activities should therefore revolve around book distribution. We should take it up with our heart and soul, and in that way hope to become an instrument in the hands of the bona fide spiritual master. So I'm sorry I went 10 minutes over the time. Are there any comments or questions? Yes, Krishna Shravana Prabhu.
Today's verse, we learned that by the will of Krishna, Lord Ruda or Lord Shiva performs the annihilation. My question is, during the annihilation, are the living entities who are conditioned souls still conscious during the annihilation?
Are the conditioned souls still conscious during the annihilation?
Yes.
I'm pretty positive because in the Bhagavatam, just you may remember some of these examples where it talks about when there's something happening, like some great demon doing a big austerity and fires coming out of his head, or anytime there's some big fiery thing happening, it says the living entities and the demigods, they become distressed and start screaming how it's just like, it looks like the fire of devastation is taking place. So I would think that the living entities are conscious during the devastation, because they speak about it as if it's something that you'd be conscious during, that, oh no, there's the fire of devastation. It's almost as hot as the fire of devastation. But we know after they're destroyed that they're in a more or less, they're in an unconscious state within the body of Mahavishnu. All the universes in one exhalation, all the material universes are expanding from his pores. And then at the time of destruction, when the material universes go back into the pores of Mahavishnu, all the living entities are there in like a dormant state. So they're not conscious then. But during the destruction, I can't think of a specific example. Well, there's also Markandeya Rishi. He was conscious during a partial destruction of the universe when it fills up with the water and he's being thrashed by the waves and the Timangila fishes are running into him and shrieking. So those are the only examples I could think of, but I would think they're conscious during the destruction of it. And the rishis and different types of demigods, they're taking airplanes up to the higher planetary systems to escape the fire of devastation while it's happening. So I think they're conscious during it. Sorry, that was the best I could do. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, Jagannath Prabhu has one comment or question, and then we'll end there.
I just had a comment and a question. I liked what you were talking about this morning about book distribution, and it's like, it's really important. Yeah, it's really important. So my question is more or less on what Maharaj was talking about, and I was hoping you could help me with it. I was wondering how we can change people's mind about religion and help them to accept that there is a God.
You can distribute to them an entire set of Srimad Bhagavatam, or a full set of Srila Prabhupada's books, or a Chaitanya Charitamrita set. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Panchakalpa